Morning, everyone. We're going to get started now on our webinar regarding the request for proposals for Solar Uptown Now. Solar Uptown Now is a program that's being done under the auspices of SolarizeNYC. And here on our title slide, you can see the three organizations that control SolarizeNYC. It's led by Sustainable CUNY and includes the Mayor's Office of Sustainability and the New York City Economic Development Corporation. So today our focus is going to be on Solar Uptown Now, the newest and latest of our Solarize programs, and the request for proposals that was released last Friday. Now, many of you may already have that RFP. You've registered for it, and it's been sent to you. In the event that you don't have it or are missing any sections, if you go to the handout tab on the toolbar that you have in the upper right portion of your screen, and this is something about what it looks like. We have the handouts there, we have the RFP, and we have attachments A, B, and C. We also have the slide deck that we'll be going through now, so you can download anything that you need and use it at your convenience later. One bit of housekeeping before we get started with the presentation itself. As you can see from this screen, this is what you should be looking at on your own screen. If you're using computer audio, that particular button should be pressed. If you're on the phone, then that particular button should be pressed and you're dialed in. We would welcome you to submit questions during the webinar, and you can put those in the question box. You can see the question box there below. Please don't use the chat box because we're going to be focusing on the question box. And we will be answering all questions not during the webinar, but we will be answering them in writing within little more than a week. We will be posting the Q&A on the website. We will also be welcoming questions after the webinar ends. If you happen to think of something tonight or tomorrow or actually through the end of the day on Friday, you can send those questions to us at solarize@cuny.edu. Again, it's solarize@cuny.edu. So the question period runs through the 28th, this Friday, and we will post answers to those questions on the SolarizeUptownNow.org website by next Friday. Also, today's presentation is being recorded. We will be posting that as well on the SolariUptownNow.org website. And if you miss any portion of this webinar, or if you want to hear it again, or if you want to refer a friend to it, it will be available probably within a few days on that website. Quick overview of the team here involved with Solar Uptown Now. The lead in the campaign is We Act for Environmental Justice, and we'll be hearing from Charles Calloway of We Act in a little bit. We also have Sustainable CUNY, Solar One, and the Urban Homesteading Assistance Board, also known as UHAP. They are the campaign partners for Solar Uptown Now. Here's the agenda for the webinar, and we have an hour on our calendars here to go through this agenda. First, we'll be giving you a little bit of a background on the SolarizeNYC program, and then drill down into Solar Uptown Now, giving you an overview of the campaign and a description of who the campaign leads and partners are. We'll then be going through the request for proposals and discussing the eligibility requirements, the proposal requirements, and the evaluation criteria. And then finally, we'll talk about how to submit your proposals. Speaking today, I'm Ron Reisman. I'm a solar ombudsman with Sustainable CUNY, and I'm joined here at the Sustainable CUNY offices by Gabe Landis, our Solar Partnership Program Manager. I'd also like to give a shout out to a couple of other people here on the Sustainable CUNY team who are instrumental in this program. David Katz, Bill Obercare have done a wonderful job in helping to put this program and this presentation together, and could not have been done without them. You'll also be hearing from Charles Calloway from We Act for Environmental Justice and Juan Parra from Solar One. So to start things off with the overview of the SolarizeNYC program, I'd like to introduce Gabe Landis.
Good morning, everybody. First, I'd like to thank you all for attending. We have a great lead community group in We Act for this Solarize campaign in northern Manhattan. There's a lot of great roofs and a lot of capacity in the organization to engage with the community they represent. And so we're looking forward to a very successful campaign, and I'm glad you're all attending. I'm glad you're interested in the RFP, and I hope that we get a bunch of great proposals from you. I'm going to talk a little bit about SolarizeNYC, the program. I hope by now you're familiar with the program, you've heard about the program. If you haven't, feel free to reach out to me at any point in time to discuss how it's structured and what the goals are. It's one of our flagship programs that we run here at Sustainable CUNY to try to get solar out into the community, out into the 5 boroughs where people live, to get solar installed, to increase visibility for solar, and really try to kind of support the industry. The mayor has a 1 gigawatt goal, and we're going to need a lot of residential projects and commercial projects, and we're going to need to get that landfill in Staten Island going. It's a kind of all hands on deck. The mayor's office is engaged with lots of city agencies, and the funding we get from the mayor's office of sustainability allows us to run this program and to support community groups that want to run these campaigns. So the basic concept is that we are engaging in a group of people, getting interest in the campaign and in exploring the option of installing solar. We are exposing people that maybe historically haven't had many interactions with solar installers or the nature of the technology. We're doing education. We're kind of showing them the path to getting the system installed and what the benefits are, and trying to get them to get to a place where the answer is yes when the question is, do you want solar? And then insofar as there's some benefits to you, the installers, we understand that customer acquisition costs are a big part of the burden of conducting business. And so by using community resources and by purchasing ads and doing flyers and having volunteers, we're helping to get the message so that you have a kind of large bucket of potential work that's presented to you. And the idea is there's benefit there, and then some of the kind of reduced customer acquisition cost benefit gets shared with the community. So the program itself, Ron mentioned, it's a program of the New York City Solar Partnership, and the partnership is comprised of 3 entities: us at Sustainable CUNY, the New York City Mayor's Office of Sustainability, and EDC. The partnership, there's a lot of different ways we engage in lots of different parts of the city, from residents to businesses that have questions about solar to other city agencies. The work we do through SolarizeNYC is about financial support, supporting with marketing materials, providing technical assistance, training volunteers, connecting with partners. for the Solar Uptown Now campaign. We're getting some leads coming through from the Retrofit Accelerator City program. These are buildings that have already installed energy efficiency measures, and we're going to kind of bring those opportunities to explore also solar electric systems on the roofs of those buildings. That's going to get folded in to the Solar Uptown Now campaign, and then educational materials. To solarize the kind of the process, there's these phases. So WEACT applied to us the end of 2016. Their application was reviewed and went through a process. They were accepted. We've spent the last couple months, building our implementation plan and envisioning this campaign. So there's the tight relationship between WEACT and Sustainable CUNY in terms of planning and organizing. WEACT is joined by SolarOne, which has a incredible depth of experience working in the city and doing technical assistance, being up on roofs, modeling financial benefits for people, showing them the pathway to yes on solar. And WEACT has an amazing capacity to mobilize the people where they live, fill the room, engage, and there's lots of tiers of leadership. And so once we've selected the installer, once the RFP process is concluded, they'll be hitting the ground and getting the message out about the campaign and promoting the option of solar within the community. The installers, our expectation is that you recognize the benefit of participating in the campaign, and that you're willing to create some tiers or packages of technology you're familiar with, technology that you're able to procure in bulk, and you see some economies of scale, and so you're providing special pricing to participants. They're helped by participating in the campaign by going solar with their neighbors. We're there to answer some of their questions. The idea is to reduce complexity, and the limited time offer is intended to help motivate them. So here's just the ways that Solarize is a good mechanism to, again, get people to yes. We've got three barriers: traditionally, high upfront costs, complexity, and customer inertia. I'm sure a lot of you out in the field are familiar with coming up against these issues, trying to make it simple for people, trying to help show them the available financing and how all the incentives work. Certainly we interact with that question a lot and try to provide information and resources. And customer inertia, just because you have that first meeting with somebody at the kitchen table doesn't mean they get through the entire process. And Solarize, so the green pieces there are just how we address that. Group purchasing, we're providing a vetted offer, and we'll talk a little bit about the RFP evaluation process that WEACT is going to go through a little bit later in the presentation. But the idea is that we are conveying to the residents that SolarOne's gotten eyes on this proposal. CUNY has looked at this proposal. This is a good deal. This technology is trustworthy, and that helps people get to yes. And then I mentioned the limited time offer. All right, next slide. Thanks, Ron. So I'm interested in what it looks like from where you sit, the installers, and what your work is here in the campaign, and how you can shape your proposal, so you understand what we're looking for. But it's also, I think, important to talk about the customer's perspective, so that we understand what the service is that we're providing and what the touch points are. So the customer is going to learn about the campaign. Hopefully they're interested and they're willing to take that first step. They sign up. We have a robust data management infrastructure for this campaign. The selected installer will have access to all the leads that have come in through the various channels and portals we've set up. We've set up ways to have paper in front of people that we run into on the street, people that come to meetings. We have a website set up for the campaign. We're receiving people that way. We have an email address for the campaign. And so all that data pours in, and the selected installer gets to see all that data. And we will be interacting about how to parse out the leads and do the vetting and make sure that there's follow-up and people hear back from us, and that we're taking them from that square one through to the process. Our expectation is that the installer is going to do the process that you would do normally, due diligence on the roof, provide a free home solar site assessment. If the site is viable, you go through the contract process, provide some modeling about what the production is going to be, make sure that the proposal is in line with the pricing that has shown up in your RFP, and then we're there and as your partner to help answer any questions so that the customer is deciding to go solar. And then we want that install to happen. We're hoping we can start seeing some installs before winter sets in. We've already got some very interested large buildings as part of this campaign. For months now we've been having interactions with co-op boards. So hopefully the pump is primed, as it were. And so now I'm going to turn it over to Ron to introduce our campaign, the organizations in the campaign.
Thank you, Gabe. The lead of this campaign is We Act for Environmental Justice. And we have Charles Calloway on the line who will give us some background on his organization. Charles?
Yes, how you doing? And good morning, everyone, and I'm happy to have everyone on the call. So my name is Charles Calloway, and I am the senior community organizer at We Act. I've been here for about 10 years working on environmental justice. And I just wanted to thank you for actually participating in the webinar. So I'm going to give you a little history on We Act right about now. So for the last 28 years, we've been working on EJ in our community. We do it in several different ways. We work on participatory budgeting. We do policy changes. We do a host of things, if you see on the slide. And so We Act started around 1988 as a volunteer organization. We have grown to about 18 people. We're an organization that has over 500 members, and we work in the Harlem community. A couple of successes. We have built the West Harlem Beers Park on 125th Street. We have made the bus depot green on 146th Street, and we work on policies around Safe Child Product Act, which is taking toxics out of toys. This came about through the Northern Manhattan Climate Agenda that we work on. We did a Kresge grant, and we found out that energy was a major concern for our community, considering that we are a community that is low-income and moderate-income community, and we thought, how do we solve the crisis of energy for our community? And solar came up out of the meeting. We started pursuing it, and by us pursuing it, we realized that we can actually put solar on a lot of the buildings in Northern Manhattan. And who are we going to target to put those buildings? Well, we target a lot of low-income buildings, which Gabe has talked to you about us in talks with. So there's several buildings uptown that we are in talks with right now to put solar up. But our main focus was the LMIs. LMI buildings, the low moderate income buildings. There's about 600 HCFCs in Harlem. We have reached out to all of them at this moment in time. We've slimmed it down number to about 600 buildings, and we continue to target those buildings. So We Act has definitely done some great work around that. Our job is our focus is to make sure that people of low income and color have a voice around what we do for our community. So at that, I'm going to move forward and leave it and let the next person speak.
Hey everyone, my name is Juan. I am a program manager here at SolarOne. For those of you that aren't familiar with SolarOne, we are a environmental education nonprofit here in the city. We've been around for about 12 or 13 years now, and over the course of the years we've programs, all with the focus of making sure that all New Yorkers are part of the conversation around sustainability and resiliency and environmentalism. So some of our other programs that, I wish I could have another hour to talk about, but I'll quickly just describe some of our other programs. Design Lab that works with New York City Public Schools, a green workforce training program. We actually own and manage a park by the East River. It's on 23rd and the river if you ever want to check it out. And our program, which is Here Comes Solar. So Here Comes Solar, we were founded on the belief that solar should be accessible to all New Yorkers. We do this by providing free, comprehensive technical assistance services for buildings looking to go solar. Most of them are affordable housing providers and low-income co-ops in the city, and I'll talk a little bit about that in the next slide. And today we've ran 10 successful Solarize group purchasing campaigns all over the city, and that's resulted in over 140 successful solar installations. Relationship with WEAC goes back 2 years, and this is an exciting time for us because we've been talking to WEAC since they identified energy as something that they want to target, and now we're seeing kind of the fruits of our labor pay off, and we're seeing our first projects move forward through this campaign this summer. Next slide, please. So I mentioned we provide free technical assistance services, so I just wanted to give you an idea of what that includes. We can do on-site assessments, building owner education, financial consultation, contractor and installer engagement throughout the process. Next slide. So Charles mentioned HDFCs when he was speaking, and we want to target low and moderate income buildings for the campaign in northern Manhattan. And I wanted to quickly describe HDFCs because they're pretty unique to the affordable housing landscape here in New York City, and it might be unfamiliar to some people dialing in. So HDFCs, which stand for Housing Development Fund Corporations, are cooperatives, affordable housing cooperatives in the city. So like other cooperatives, in order to kind of buy an ownership stake, you're not really buying a unit, you're just buying an ownership stake in in the form of shares in the building. There's a representative board that makes ongoing decisions about the maintenance and the operations of the building. They're elected by the shareholders or residents. And there's also there's also votes for major decisions, major capital improvements, and things like solar. The one key difference with HDFCs is that you must income qualify in order to buy into an HDFC. So you have to make under a specified income level. And the reason New York does this is just to preserve affordable home ownership for years and years and years. So we like working with HDFCs because they present a unique opportunity to work with homeowners who can fully realize the benefits of solar and still work in the affordable housing space. Northern Manhattan happens to have one of the highest concentration of HDFC co-ops in all of New York City. Charles mentioned they had about 600. And so we've worked with WEAC and our friends at UHAB, the Urban Homesteading Assistance Board, to target and engage these HDFCs for the campaign. Next slide, please. Charles is going to describe a little bit of the campaign map, and so I'll throw it back to him.
So the campaign map is northern Manhattan, so it starts at 110th Street on the west side and 96th Street on the east side. We go river to river all the way up to the end of Manhattan. Because we have so many HDFCs concentrated in its neighborhoods, we have really went door to door. and put flyers and try to talk to everyone or someone who lives in the ACFCs to really get solar on their building. Solar One has also done amazing job with analyzing all the rooftops already, with looking at shades and other buildings that are around in that area, to look at the buildings that are definitely prime buildings to put solar. But I'm going to just say this, another piece is that we actually been working in Northern Manhattan for the last 28 years. We are definitely a group of people who really are doing amazing things around membership and getting people involved and bringing people out to meeting, and we're definitely an organization that has been very trusted in this community. We do a lot of policy work, but this is something that is special, and we believe that our community is definitely ready for putting solar in their buildings. So I'm going to kick the ball.
All right, so I could go ahead and talk a little bit about the market segments that we want to. Actually, Charles, I think you might be better off doing this. You want to go through this slide?
1 second.
All right, I'll go ahead.
This one.
It's all right, no worries. Sorry about that. So we want to, like Charles says, there's kind of a diversity of residents and buildings in Upper Manhattan, and so we want to make sure that this campaign emphasizes the inclusion of low and moderate income residents with a focus on these HDFC co-ops. But there's 3 market segments that we want to break out the campaign into, and you'll see that reflected in the actual RFP. And so what you'll see is 1 to 4 family homes is one segment, a market rate multifamily and small commercials is another, and the affordable multifamily is another segment. Next slide, please. And we've identified a few campaign goals, and so I'm not going to go through them one by one, so you could read them as I speak. But you'll notice that the goals isn't just to get solar on rooftops. The goals are way more comprehensive with that, and we really want to make sure that Northern Manhattan, which is, as Charles was mentioning, a community that historically has a high energy burden, has had a disproportionate amount of polluting facilities and other environmental impacts, and has had a history of organization and kind of residents empowering the neighborhood for positive change. We want to make sure that this campaign includes all of that, and everyone's getting the benefits, the tangential benefits of solar, and not just getting panels on the rooftop. In terms of aggregate capacity, we're hoping to get at least 150 kilowatts of new solar installed by the end of the campaign. And in the next slide, Ron, if you want to go ahead, I really think that we're in a great position to meet and surpass that goal for a few reasons. Charles already talked about the HDFC population here in Northern Manhattan. There are 600 buildings, and Solar One, we've already scoped out the rooftops and found that over 300 buildings are viable for solar. And I think out of those 300, somewhere around 100 have the potential to fit over 20 kilowatts of solar. So a lot of our outreach is focused on those buildings and making them more engaged and aware, and hoping to bring their participation into the campaign. But we're also getting a lot of interest and we're also getting interest from other affordable housing providers. We're engaged with other affordable housing buildings in the city, and we're also engaged with a number of market rate buildings in the city. And in fact, we already have one building, a multifamily HDFC in Northern Manhattan, that has signed a letter of intent to go ahead and proceed with solar through this campaign, and they have they can fit 32 kilowatts of solar on their roof. So they are really excited and ready to go, and we're hoping to sign up much more buildings in the next few months. So I'm going to throw it back to Ron, and he's going to describe RFP timeline and other details.
Thank you, Juan. Thank you, Charles. The first half of this webinar has been dedicated to an overview of the Solarize program and Solar Uptown Now and its team members. Now we're going to drill down into the RFP itself. So if you look at the timeline, you'll see that last Friday the RFP was officially released. There was an email blast that went out encouraging installers to register on the website to receive the RFP. The email has gone out to everybody who has registered. And we've got the question period now open until this Friday, so if you think of something after this webinar has been completed, you can send that question to solarize@cuny.edu, and we will answer it along with the questions that were posted during the webinar by August 4th. And then perhaps the most important date on here is August 11th, which is the date that your proposals are due. And we will be receiving proposals that are time-stamped up to 11:59 p.m. on August 11th. Anything that is time-stamped beyond 11:59 p.m. Will not be considered for this program. So here we have the eligibility requirements. And just to briefly go through them, you can see that we require installers to have installed at least 15 successful systems throughout the metropolitan region, that they be in compliance with all the NY Sun program rules and a participating contractor with the NY Sun program. I'm not going to go through these point by point. You can read them here. You can also read them in a little more detail in the RFP, but hopefully everybody on this call is going to be eligible to participate and have met all of these requirements. Now, in terms of the proposal itself, there are several parts to it. And by the way, the first three, those attachments A, B, and C, can all be downloaded from the handout section on your control panel if you have not already received them. We have the solar certification letter, the installer profile and pricing form, which is an Excel spreadsheet, and the installer application information form. Just a quick point, well, we'll take a look at them just so you're able to recognize them, but what we're asking for you to do here is to sign this form, convert it into a PDF file, and then send it back to us with your full proposal. And of course, what it asks you to do is to certify that you are eligible for this program, will abide by all the rules and the terms and conditions. Attachment B is an Excel spreadsheet. There's no need to convert this into a PDF. There are 4 tabs on the spreadsheet, and it's important that you answer all of the questions on each of the 4 tabs. And just as a bit of a housekeeping note, I should point out that there is an updated version of this spreadsheet. It was sent to all of the registrants who initially registered on the first day that we announced that the RFP was available. However, earlier this week, we sent out an updated version of the sheet. If you did not register before this Tuesday, you received the updated version. So everybody should have this. The only change in that updated version is in the section that you see now on the screen, which is the tier pricing proposal for the 3 types of housing stocks that Juan mentioned earlier when he talked about the market segments. And then finally, we have attachment C, which asks you to go into detail about things such as your qualifications, your financial strength, your implementation plan for this program, your marketing strategy, and how you intend to especially focus on low and moderate income customers, as well as on the job opportunity portion of this that we'll get to when we go over the evaluation criteria. So these 3 forms, plus samples of your sales contract and customer proposals, all need to be attached to the proposal that you submit to us via email. And now we get to the submittal part. So we require an email submission. There you see the email address, solarize@cuny.edu. That's also for any questions that you have. We will not be accepting anything besides email, so please don't mail us a hard copy or try to fax us anything. As I mentioned before, attachments A and C should be converted into PDFs. Attachment B can stay as it is as an Excel document, and just go through all of those attachments to make sure that all the questions are answered. Please submit your proposals no later than 11:59 p.m. on August 11th, and we will be going through the proposals to make sure that they are complete, that all the forms are attached, all the questions are answered. If we determine that a form is incomplete, it will not be considered. So please take care in filling out your proposals. So let's talk a little bit about how these proposals will be evaluated. We will have a committee that will be made up of the Solar Uptown Now team members that we mentioned earlier, Sustainable CUNY, We Act, UHAB, and Solar One, along with several other members of the Energy Democracy Working Group. And they will look at each proposal critically, looking at 7 areas, or actually 8 areas that you see here. And we will be weighting each one. So we'll be looking primarily, the one with the greatest weight, at the overall quality of the proposal and the equipment that you've specified to use. So we're not necessarily looking for the cheapest, we're looking for the one with the greatest value. We're going to be looking next at the implementation and capacity, which is your ability to provide a timely, quality customer service, as well as your ability to work well with the Solar Uptown Now team. We are going to be looking at your pricing structure, both your purchase price and your lease or PPA price, and that attachment B is going to ask you for both, as well as, again, the value that you're offering with your equipment, any price adders that you have, any price escalators, as well as your contract terms and conditions. So that's a very broad category right there. We'll be looking at your experience next, and to the degree that you have experience, and particularly in this kind of work, dealing with these types of buildings in an urban environment, and your track record on customer service. We'll also be looking at your marketing plan and how your proposal is going to drive community adoption of solar projects and drive down the cost of the installations. We'll be looking, you see a category there for local and environmental impact, and that takes into account the workforce development component, and any track record history that you have in employing local residents in your work. So that will all be looked upon favorably, as well as your business sustainability practices. And then finally, we have other factors here, which are options that you may be offering your customers in terms of energy efficiency, solar hot water, battery storage, or other types of ancillary services. So taking all this together, you see we have a possible score of 100 points, and you see how these various factors are weighted to get us to that 100 points. So this is the end of the formal presentation. Again, just to review, if you have questions, you can submit them now through the box on the screen, or submit them prior to this Friday at the solarize@cuny.edu email address. We will post the responses on the Solar Uptown Now website by a week from Friday, August 4th. And again, that critical date of August 11th to submit your proposals to the RFP. We want to thank you for your participation in this webinar today. We appreciate your interest in Solar Uptown Now. Speaking on behalf of the entire team, we thank you for that interest and look forward to receiving your proposals. So I'll ask the other panelists, Charles, Juan, and Gabe, if they have any final words before we sign off.
Okay, I'm just, again, want to thank everyone for coming, and looking forward to hearing your questions. And thanks for your time today.
Likewise, I'm looking forward to all you guys putting in the proposals so that way we can start getting some solar in northern Manhattan and Harlem. So I look forward to making this happen very soon.
All right, thanks again, everyone. Oh, Gabe,
you.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, just thanks. We've got some good questions coming in, and I'm glad everyone's thinking about you know, all the various moving parts in the campaign. And so again, look to the website. August 4th is when the responses will be posted.
All right, that wraps it up for us. Thanks again, everyone. And as Gabe and the others said, we look forward to your proposals. Have a good day, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.